Hi, good day everyone. My name's Alex. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar today. I am Leaders National Trainer and I'll be taking you through essentially the steps to get started as a Microsoft CSP and specifically how to work through Leader Cloud. This webinar is quite short, only 30 minutes in length, and the primary focus is the actual steps to start transacting as a CSP. So for any more info, you're actually encouraged to also reach out to our Leader Cloud team, who will be able to spend the time with you and help you through this process in order to get started. We'll also be doing a quick Q&A afterwards. If you have any in-depth questions, you're more than welcome to revert back to our Leader Cloud team as well for any assistance that you may need. This webinar is recorded and will be shared out to everyone directly afterwards. So before we delve into the CSP program, we first need to understand what the opportunity is. So the first and most enticing thing to look at here is the earning potential. It is estimated that globally, digital transformation would be valued at about 7.1 trillion USD in 2023. And on the cloud side, the combined cloud services value would be around 600 billion USD by next year. That's a massive amount, and it's a good incentive for us to get started in the CSP program. In addition to that, Microsoft are also trying to drive deeper partner and customer engagement to make sure Microsoft services adoption is driven by real value. So in a nutshell, there's massive opportunities, and not just globally, but in Australia as well, where we've seen dramatic growth over the last 3 years. At the center of all of this is the Microsoft CSP program, which is what this webinar is about today. So what is the program and how does it work? The idea is to enable partners like yourself with the ability to offer managed services and package those managed services along with Microsoft products. So most of the partners that we see offer a combined package that combines their professional services with a selected bunch of software. Typically, this takes the form of Microsoft desktop or cloud applications, antivirus, backup solutions, etc. And they bundle all of this into an easy to understand, easy to represent, or easy to present bundle that you can sell to your customers. The primary driver behind this is to build recurring revenue. We all know and understand that selling hardware has become pretty much unsustainable. And by offering cloud services such as Microsoft, partners have access to much more predictable revenue streams. By leveraging Microsoft CSP program, partners are able to actually also build end-to-end solutions for their customers and be involved in the end-to-end billing cycle or life cycle. So traditionally, what you would see is partners offering their services as one invoice and then having a separate invoice for Microsoft services. So through this, Microsoft are actually enabling you to bundle all of those services together. So at a glance, the program is fairly simple. Microsoft has two routes to the market. The first is through the direct agreement. Essentially through that, a direct partner or direct reseller would speak with Microsoft and become a partner of Microsoft directly. But this program is primarily focused towards larger larger resellers that would be well established within the CSP program. The most popular way by far is through the indirect model, where an indirect provider sells to an indirect reseller, who in turn sells to the end customer. So the latter is how it would work through Leader, where you as the indirect reseller would buy from Leader as the indirect provider and then on-sell to your customers. The program itself very clearly outlined all of the steps involved. To get signed up is really straightforward. As a quick overview of some of the key attributes to the program, we can take a look at the program policies. So firstly, where are you able to sell these services? The account that you create with Microsoft gets called your tenant. Your customer's accounts also gets called a tenant. And the region you select during registration effectively becomes your market. It's very important for account vetting purposes that you must also select the correct region. If you're planning to sell to different regions, you have to create a tenant for each region. In the general idea there is that you should also have office locations in those areas. Similarly to how you would create an account and it functions as your tenant, your customer also gets their own Microsoft account and tenant, like I mentioned before. The customer tenant is the primary place where you will do all the setup and configuration. And importantly, it is also what they call multi-channel enabled, meaning services offered or purchased through other programs such as open licensing, for example, are also enabled here as well. More often than not, customers tend to have existing tenants, and ideally you would want to reuse them as well to make ease of administration easier. The primary place used to manage your customers and your own account is called Partner Center, and this is something you will use every day. Through this, you can take all the actions you require to transact as a CSP. So before purchasing any licenses, the end customer must accept the Microsoft Customer Agreement as well, which is available during checkout on Leader Cloud, and we'll explain the process in the next couple of slides as well. So let's delve deeper into what is available on Partner Center, as you're going to be using this extensively as an indirect reseller. So firstly, it's extremely easy to use. It's just a web GUI. Everything's in a web interface. It's self-explanatory. It's really, really straightforward. And the next thing through this interface is you can actually create customers and act as the admin on behalf of those customers. So that allows you to both purchase licenses directly from Microsoft and manage the customer's tenant. I can also hear you ask if I can buy licenses from Microsoft Direct, why would we be buying them through Leader instead? The primary reason for this is that licenses sold through Microsoft are sold at the recommended retail prices. There's no margin in for you as a partner if you're the customer is, or if you're buying licenses for the customer directly from Microsoft. By purchasing the licenses from Leader, you're essentially buying the licenses at a lower than recommended retail price, meaning you can sell it at the recommended retail price and still make money. By acting as an admin, you can also take full control over multiple customer tenants, making support and maintenance easy. Depending on your partner level and what you're enrolled for, you could also get access to Microsoft customer referrals as well. So let's see what Partner Center looks like. As you'll see, it's a very slim and easy to use interface, allowing you to access all the workspaces that you typically need in order to transact as a CSP. This is the primary page you would see when you're logging into Partner Center for the first time, assuming that you've just done the registration. One of the first steps we would take as a new CSP is to verify our account with Microsoft in order to ensure that we're able to transact as a CSP. To do this is extremely easy. You just need to click on the cogwheel top right hand side, and then I'll go to account settings and finally click on legal info. In the legal info section, you'll see how far your account verification has progressed as well. Normally, it is required that you prove that you own the business as well as the domain that you're registering before you can start transacting as a CSP. Microsoft has a fairly thorough vetting process, and it's recommended to watch out for any emails coming from Microsoft during this step. We often see partners missing emails and the verification process getting stuck at this point. Leader can also assist with this, although the vetting is actually done by Microsoft themselves, and we do not have direct control over that, unfortunately. Once your account's been fully vetted, you will receive your Microsoft Partner ID. This used to be called your MPN ID, and it's the vital step in allowing you to transact as a reseller. Essentially, your Partner ID is used through the purchasing process, and it's used to identify you as the partner on record for a specific customer, and also used to create a link between you, the customer, and Leader Cloud as your indirect reseller. It's expected that every partner will have a valid partner ID before they actually start transacting. Of course, no man's an island, and we would like to typically add additional people from our company into our Microsoft Partner account. And to do this, we simply go to the user management section. We can add users as we want through here and assign various authorization levels and capabilities to them. Through this, we can also create accounts that, for example, for technical people or accounting teams to do, for example, support or account reconciliation as you see fit. An important part of having multiple users is also having the ability to see their activities, and the Microsoft Partner Center allows you to have full activity logging, which allows you to see which actions have been taken by which users, which is extremely important for auditing purpose and for support purposes as well, where you want to see which user within the company created which tickets, etc. So you can also create your business profile within Partner Center. This is meant to be used as a customer-facing representation of your business. The idea behind this is to allow customers to find you within Microsoft Partner Search site. So Microsoft actually has a dedicated site where end customers can search for partners in their region. And what we're setting up here is what the customers will see when they're searching for indirect resellers like yourself. So when a customer goes through this process and they select you as the indirect reseller, the lead will come through to your referral section in Partner Center, and you'll be alerted when a new lead arrives. Partners are encouraged to action those leads, or to at least assign them to themselves when they arrive, in order to avoid those leads getting reassigned to other partners. The page that we're probably most frequently going to be using is the customer section, and it's important to understand how this would tie back to your account that you've created with your indirect provider, or in this case it would be Leader Cloud. And through the section, you can essentially use it to set up your customer accounts from scratch and effectively create Microsoft tenants or Microsoft accounts. If the customer has an existing Microsoft account, like I said before, you would instead use that and essentially just get administrative privileges into their tenant so you can manage their account from there. Once this link has been accepted, a customer can also, or a customer will appear within your Microsoft tenants as well. So the link in question here is the request a reseller relationship link, which you can pass on to the end customer, and as soon as they've accepted that, you essentially get global admin privileges into the customer's account. So when you're purchasing licenses from Microsoft through Leader, we also need to create access to allow Leader to provision those licenses into the customer accounts as well. So similar to how your reseller link works, Leader also has a link that links you and as the reseller and the end customer, as well as us, into and one environment where we can provision licenses through. So this link is available during the checkout process on Leader Cloud. And important to note here, Leader Cloud cannot provision any licenses if we do not have privileges to do so. So it's not a requirement that Leader has to have full delegated admin rights, but it is generally recommended to keep admin rights available for Leader on the customer tenant to enable us to create support requests on your behalf and in order to access premier levels of support from that. For provisioning licenses, though, it is not a requirement to have dedicated admin rights. So when you're creating a customer in Partner Center, it's important to note that the customer doesn't automatically get created in Leader Cloud. Inversely to that, if you're creating a customer on Leader Cloud, the customer typically is automatically created in Partner Center. So we generally recommend creating the customers through Leader Cloud instead. The main thing to make note of here is that you enter your partner ID information correctly. Like I said before, that partner ID is used to tie you, us, and the customer together. So during the customer creation process on both Leader Cloud and Microsoft Partner Center, you are also prompted to nominate a contact within the end customer's business, who in turn should also be accepting the customer agreement. You'll see the customer agreement reflected on screen there. You can, as a partner, accept this on their behalf, but the end customer must have read the agreement in order to proceed, and Microsoft do also request the end customer information here. Going on to what you can sell to your customers, of course, is a very important part of being a CSP. The first and most obvious one here is Microsoft 365. So this includes the on-device and cloud applications that we all know and use, for example, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. And also services such as access to OneDrive or SharePoint, for example. Importantly here, you have a choice of what's included with your Microsoft 365 package, and there are various offerings at different price levels to cater for the specific needs of your customer. So you as the reseller can choose what you want to include as part of your service offering and cater your packages to the specific types of customers that you're targeting. Of course, through the CSP program, we also get access to Azure, and specifically Azure Plan. Through Azure, we can create a multitude of different services, such as cloud-hosted virtual machines, storage locations, online Active Directory services, a whole bunch more. So when you're using Azure, it's important to understand that the services here are built on a consumption model. So essentially, you're paying for what you have used in terms of processing power, data ingress or egress, storage capacity, compute, etc., etc. Azure charges are billed in arrears. That's an important note to make as well. There are also a whole host of offerings available for business services through Dynamics 365 specifically, and we also get access to a perpetual and server licensing and even software as a service offers as well. And there's a whole bunch more that we'll look at shortly. We'll take a deeper dive into each one of these in the next couple of slides. Microsoft's recently undergone a fairly major change to the structure of the CSP program as well. Through this change, it's essentially now becoming what they call new commerce. So new commerce offers a broader range of subscriptions, more payments options, allowing more flexibility in terms of when and how your customers pay, while also making it more sticky for you and your customers, meaning the customers aren't as easily available or easily capable of moving between indirect resellers, meaning they have to come back to you for services. So there's a ton of changes here in the new commerce environment. If you wish to know more about this, I would highly recommend reaching out to our Leader Cloud team to fully understand how this can benefit you and the customer. So seat-based licensing, like the Microsoft 365 licenses, for example, are fairly easy to understand, as you end up purchasing the licenses for the number of people within a company, typically. Um, Understanding stuff like Azure and estimating how much you'll be spending within a month can be a little bit more complex. And this is really where Leader Cloud shines, and we would be happy to work with you to build a estimation of cost and based on the resources that you want to provision. So to provision a Azure subscription, you check out a subscription at $0 essentially through Leader Cloud, and effectively all the resources you provision on it gets billed accordingly. So as you create different resources, that just gets pulled through to Leader Cloud and invoiced out to you at the end of the month. It's recommended to reach out to the Leader team to fully understand the capabilities and the charges of all of these resources before you provision them, as provisioning some resources can be quite expensive as well. A very common scenario is businesses that require cloud-hosted virtual machines, and Azure reserved instances are pretty much ideal for this. So with virtual machines, we generally know that it will be running for an extended period of time, typically a few years. With reserved instances, we have the ability to kind of prepay for that virtual machine's compute resources in advance. So meaning regardless of whether there are 2 hours of use on that virtual machine or 720 hours of use, for example, you know in advance how much it will be charged. So taking a reserved instance offers greater or greatly reduced rates in terms of compute power. So it is highly recommended for any environment where you know the type of VM will stay consistent over multiple years, for example, 1 to 3 years, that you look at reserved instances. So important note here is that Azure reserved instances are only prepaid for the compute component. There will still be charges for example, for your disk usage, data flow, inter-region transfers, etc., as well. An often overlooked part of the CSP program is having access to perpetual licenses as well. Effectively, this is a replacement to the traditional open licenses that resellers used to buy. And through Perpetual Software, you can actually purchase licenses with a full cost up front. So the idea is you buy that license once off, and it is the full cost up front. So licenses sold through the Perpetual program include stuff like server licensing and, for example, Office Standard or Office Professional licenses. And with this, you actually have access to that key within seconds, unlike the Open License program. And unlike the Open License program, you also have a cancellation time frame, allowing you to cancel licenses after they've been provisioned. Important here as well is that there is no software assurance sold through perpetual licenses. Software assurance is still a thing, but it's not sold as part of the perpetual licensing program through CSP. Critically here for you as the reseller, you're able to access those perpetual licenses in much the same way as you would access CSP subscriptions, meaning it's really fast and easy for you to actually get them. I feel that we also have to note here the value that we have in Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 and what it includes has grown massively since its inception back in 2011. No longer is it just a Office app installed on your PC. It actually now includes a ton of tools that are used by hundreds or thousands of businesses across the globe. There's too much really here for me to list everything, but it's a good idea to show your customers the list of inclusions when speaking to them about Microsoft Office, as most of them would tend to think that it's just Word or Excel and Outlook that they're paying for. Security is also one of the largest components in moving forward, and specifically in the cloud and Microsoft as well. Microsoft is still the global #1 security provider, and Microsoft are placing a lot of emphasis on developing solutions that help you secure your customers. There's a massive play on this as well. So Microsoft are introducing more and more tools and options for you to help secure your customers. Really, the slides we've looked at up to now have only been scratching the surface of the CSP program. I would really recommend taking a more in-depth look at it as well, or reaching out to our team for assistance on that. Microsoft is driving massive engagement with partners and attempting to allow partners to specialize in certain areas as well. And they're allowing you to show the specialization through the skills that you have and really tailor make your style of services to your specific customers and show what your focus areas are. In short, Microsoft are trying to help partners grow, and it's Leader Cloud's purpose to do the same thing. So we've talked about Leader Cloud. Let's take a look at why Leader Cloud and what you get as part of joining Leader Cloud and what makes us unique. So firstly, we are one of only a handful of distributors globally that are both a Tier 1 Microsoft OEM and an indirect provider. What this means to you is that Leader understands both the software and hardware components that make up a successful MSP. And the value proposition that we have here is 100% unique to us within Australia. Leader has been recognized as one of Australia's fastest growing indirect providers, and this is driven in no small part by how fast and easy we make it to deal with us, and how fast and easy our cloud storefront is as well. We have also recently been appointed as an ESD, as you would have probably seen, meaning Leader can electronically distribute licenses which were traditionally sold through their full package products, meaning you had to keep physical stock of those products. So similar to the CSP program, licenses are provisioned directly to the customer's tenant, and it's done within a couple of seconds, making it super, super easy, and also means you don't have to keep stock of licenses, which is not ideal. Another value add is that Leader Cloud is more than just a Microsoft distributor. We sell other brands that accompany Microsoft as well. So examples of this includes cloud and email backup solutions, customer management suites, cloud migration software, security options, and a whole bunch more. Again, each one of these can probably have its own webinar, but Leader does offer a whole variety of software solutions that accompany Microsoft perfectly. So to start using Leader Cloud, it's extremely easy. You simply need to click on the Leader Cloud button on the top left-hand side of the Leader Dealer Shop. You do need to have a Leader Dealer account in order to access this. After you've clicked on this button, you'll be taken to a series of questions. I think it's only about 4, if I'm not mistaken. And after that's done, you'll be taken straight through to the Leader Cloud's storefront. So Leader uses single sign-on between Leader Cloud and Leader's Dealer Shop, meaning once the registration process is done, you just need to click through in order to access the storefront. It's a one click away from accessing it. Once you're on the Leader Cloud storefront, you have full access to any of the software solutions we've already talked about. And for Microsoft purchases, it's just important to note that you do need to have your partner ID ready when you're doing checkout, and to have this done beforehand so that we don't get stuck during the checkout process, or if you need to urgently place orders for customers. Another value add is the ability to create reports. So we understand how difficult it is to keep track of customer and license counts, as well as the costs associated with that. And for this reason, we provide reports in a variety of formats. Simply put, if it's a value that you can see on Leader Cloud, we can probably create a report on it. Many resellers are extremely successful in using these reports to import uh, it into their own PSA systems or professional services automation tools, and to accurately reconcile those services or those licenses and charge their customers respectively. A very unique feature to Leader as well is the ability to actually do basic user management directly from the Leader Cloud site. Normally, after you've purchased the license, you need to actually break away from the site and go into Microsoft's the customer's tenant in order to assign those licenses, etc. Through Leader Cloud, we don't actually have to do that. We can do basic management through Leader Cloud directly. And as you can see on screen there, you can manage licenses, reset passwords, edit user information, or even delete users directly from Leader Cloud. This small step is pretty important as it tends to save you hours when you're provisioning multiple licenses. Leader Cloud also offers a host of integration options. So right now we have ready-made and working integrations with ConnectWise and Synchro. And we also understand that this is one of the most important tools for any reseller, and it's one of the areas we're working the hardest on to improve. It is pretty complex, and it requires a thorough understanding of each PSA system's processes and APIs, but Leader is committed to doing this, and we'll be working hard to get these integrations set up for our partners. Leader also has a variety of white label options, so should you wish to have a customer-facing storefront that you can present to your customers, this is completely possible. You can do everything from very basic to full customer storefronts with custom branding. You can have different invoices. You can brand those invoices. You can set your own enforcement options, in other words, how payments should be handled. You can integrate your own payment gateways. You can implement order approvals should you wish. You can set your own custom pricing, for example. You can even sell your own custom products through the storefront as well. And of course, you have access to the latest products. Everything that Leader sells can be made available to you to sell to your customer. Another big thing is that we don't charge a credit card fee. So depending on who you're with at the moment, this can be anything from 2 to 4% more margin for you. It's a massive incentive to go with Leader Cloud. In a very quick nutshell, it's just more margin for you. And then the last one here is the ability to access fast and easy local support. Our cloud team is based right here in Adelaide. We have a full pre-sales team as well as technical support available to you. And we understand the importance of having local people within the correct time zone. So our teams are available and on hand, ready to assist you at any point in time. With that said, I would like to thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Again, should you have any additional questions or anything you would like to raise through, our cloud team is available for support. Please do feel free to reach out to us on 1300 LDR CSP. Alternatively, you can email sales@leadercloud.com.au for any additional setup assistance. Again, our teams are very eager to assist you through the CSP program. So if you do get stuck anywhere, please do reach out to us. We're happy to help. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. Really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.